I've been looking at this idea of, or this demographic of the spiritual but not religious, right, which is on the rise in sort of from the beginning of the 21st century. And it's what I'm going to do my dissertation on at university this year. So maybe throughout our conversations across the next academic year, I'm going to bring this up more and more and detail more bits about what I've learned. But I find this interesting because how it's almost like this is a group of people who reject religion but still want a relationship with God, right? So firstly, I guess let's break down what is the nature of this demographic. Okay, Nietzsche said that we killed God, whenever that was, when we had this sort of Renaissance and scientific understanding came through and we started to see the world objectively. He said we killed God, but I don't think we did kill God, because who the hell are we to kill God? We're small little human egos. We're like ants, you know, scurrying around the world. I just think we killed / distrusted the avenues with which most people were introduced to God. And that's a very different thing. God is very much still alive. And when I say God, I see God as a meta term. God to me is an aggregate of all terms like fate and like faith and like trusting the universe and things like manifestation and everything happens for a reason and universal love and the life force that makes trees grow and makes, and you know, drives animals' instincts and whatever created this earth, whatever wired our biology, whatever made everything become what it is. That to me is God, right? It's not a guy wearing sandals in the sky. And that God is very much alive. And I think that's why this spiritual but not religious category arises, because we don't trust religion anymore. We've learned too much about the corruption. We've learned too much about the specifics that create human conflict, the egos that get identified with the religious doctrines, and how that muddies the water and makes it about me versus you and your different practices. But the underlying thing that religions tried to translate all those thousands of years ago by those prophets, that metaphysical, immeasurable, beautiful, complex force that's going on around us, that is real. And I think the spiritual but not religious types are those who know that there's something more going on, but don't trust those avenues that we usually introduce to him by. And so they have to find their own individual way or alternative ways. And then I came across two terms that I think you'll really like, Jake. And it was this idea of vertical transcendence and horizontal transcendence. And I think the spiritual but not religious types fit perfectly in this horizontal transcendence idea. So vertical transcendence is imagining like a universal hierarchy, and at the top of that hierarchy is God, right? Whatever that means to you. And in vertical transcendence, you worship up, right? You worship towards that all-knowing, all-powerful being that is God, right? And that is the center of your spiritual practices through prayer, through whatever. Whereas horizontal transcendence is an unhierarchical view of like universal power. It sees God as something that's in me, something that's in you, to do with the interconnectedness of everything. We're not worshipping up, we're almost worshipping around, right? Seeing the divinity that is in everything, in the trees around us, in the birds, in the people, in our relationships, in ourself, right? Getting to know ourself. And that to me is what what spirituality focuses on. Religion is a very vertical transcendent structure, whereas spirituality is a very horizontal transcendent structure. And then I'll finish with this. How then do I think how do we worship in the process of horizontal transcendence? Because vertical transcendence, you can look at any religion to kind of figure that out, Islam, Christianity, whatever. You know, it's the reading scripture, it's prayer, it's engaging with the community, it's the sacraments, etc. But horizontal transcendence, how do you worship that? And I think it's about living life as consciously as you possibly can. Like really noticing the interconnectedness, the beauty, the nuance, the covert divinity in all the things around us. And I think it's similar to what I talked about a couple of weeks ago, Jung's idea of true consciousness, a true state of consciousness, the purest state of consciousness where everything just opens up around you and you see God in all things. God being the universal power, the great creator of it all. And I think that's the kind of spiritual path that I know I'm definitely on, that many of my friends that sit on this fence about, they don't trust religion, but they know there's something more. That's the kind of path that they're on. And I think it's probably the path that you're on too. Yeah. And then I laughed to myself, Jake, the other day because I've been spending a lot of time during my injury sitting and thinking about things. And I realized we wanted to start a podcast about psychology and philosophy. But what do we talk about the most? God. Now, we came into this, we're not religious guys. I've never been to a church service that isn't a funeral, right? But we seem to sit down every week and somehow we're talking about higher beings, universal power, whether that comes from psychedelics or psychology or philosophy. We're just talking about God, in my terms. And I just find it funny that we didn't mean to do that. It just kind of happened by accident. And I think it's our own way of finding our unique faith as time goes by.
Yeah, that's confused me a bit. Like, why is it came about?
We didn't choose it, did we? We didn't sit down and go and talk about religion. Ever.
But I guess
you knew I studied psychology and you were curious. That was where we started.
But when you I guess keep looking deeper, God is just the thing that you come to. Like you just arrive at, you just arrive at it.
Yeah.
I think I'll solidify some of these points first. So I think, first of all, me and you, I think we are on that spiritual but not religious. I think that's a good way to class ourselves. And that's because I think trying to kind of like understand the two, I think with the spiritual not religious, so there's horizontal kind of worship, and that is because like it's like almost a perspective of the law of one, and how like all of this kind of is connected, and there's some kind of like everything we do does matter, and it's all like a transfer of energy, and you kind of I get these kind of hippie vibe type of connotations, but it's not like we're constantly praying to the creator, and that's why it's not a vertical worship. And I mean, is that okay? I mean, like I think we're kind of spreading ourselves out and we're taking up different ideas. I think a lot of people do take up ideas from different religions, but you don't kind of stay and commit to one and think like everything you do is affects this vertical God. I think you're pretty right in that distinction. That's what I'm trying to. I think that's what I understand from it so far. And I also think your point in how Gen Z is kind of fed up with the corruption of religion is completely true. That's a great point. I think we are. I think we see stuff online about how rich the church is and other things that go on, and it's too much for us to forgive and get past. So I think this horizontal spiritual category is the future, maybe, or it's going to keep increasing. And I think a lot of people are like that and they don't admit it, or maybe they don't know it. Or there's just a lot of people that are atheists and nothing will happen. But I think they're my starting thoughts.
I think I was talking to my mum about this the other day, this same point, because I was talking to her about my dissertation and what I was reading and stuff. There is a hole in this modern day, and this is why I'm excited, Jake. Because I'm like, fuck, is this what my life's work is going to be about? Like, is this what I'm going to write and speak about as time goes on? Because we can't kill God. We can't do that. We're human beings. We can't kill the idea of something more. We can't kill spirituality. We can't kill the metaphysical because it has a tangible impact on our life, right? Meaning, purpose, universal love, they are all abstract metaphysical things that do affect us. Now, if you want to, you can go proper objective and Richard Dawkinsify it and think about biology and brain chemistry and love's just a chemical reaction and row. I don't care. I don't believe that. That doesn't fit into my philosophy of life. We'll just have to agree to disagree there. God is something that is real and we need it, but we don't trust religion, rightly so, right? So we need something to fill the gap. We need a way of connecting to that. And I hate using the word God, I guess, because it's almost super linked to religion, but we need a way to connect with that higher meaning, because what my mum called it the other day, she called it materialistic nihilism. This position we're in now, where we've killed God, So what do we have to care about? The clothes we wear, the car we drive, the house we have, the amount of fucking digits we have on our bank account. But that's not really filling the hole. That's just this like capitalist fueling disease, mental epidemic that we're all possessed by. But it's not, that's why people are so fucking depressed and hate their lives. Because even if they win the materialistic nihilism game, you're still not connected to nature, to what's really going on, to the source of where we all come from. We need something in the middle. And I think a large thing that's going to fill that hole is psychology, philosophy, and mythology. We need to go back to understand like what makes humans feel the most alive. Because the more I've like gone into psychology, philosophy, and particularly as I'm coming into mythology now and starting to read Joseph Campbell's work and a lot more Jung, I realized that these were the answers I was looking for. Like the universal stories of man and what it means to be a good human being. That's what we need. We need more people to understand things like the hero's journey. We need more people to understand that their behavior does have consequences to the way they feel, to the way they impact others. And I think religion it's just burnt out. It's just exhausted its fuel in actually convincing people, and something else needs to step in.
I think your point of the death of God and how the question of like, why am I here? Maybe that won't have the same structured, like logical, well, not logical, but like told to us answer that religion gives.
Yeah.
That question's still going to be there, and it would just metamorphosize. It would just change shape, and we'll answer it in different ways.
Yeah.
And that way, it's going to be more personal. It's going to be more spiritual.